I can't believe it has taken us 20 years to get here, to finally be living our dream. Being able to wake up every morning and be greeted by our kids, the goats, our cows, pigs, chickens, and even the ducks. It's hard to believe that this wasn't even our dream 20 years ago, but I'm happy and so thankful every day that this is where we ended up. Let me start off by saying that Jesse and I came from complete opposite backgrounds. He was a city boy who grew up near Phoenix, Arizona. I was a country girl who grew up in rural Michigan. I couldn't wait to get out of the country though, so much so that I graduated high school early and left for the Army when I was just 17. Jesse and I met at my first duty station at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. We deployed together, and a year later we were married with our first child on the way. We never dreamed of having a farm. In fact, our first two homes were as city suburban as you can get. It wasn't until we moved to a subdivision where we had an entire half-acre lot as a backyard that a seed was planted. I started my first little garden in a raised garden bed that I had built. We planted fruit trees, and we had a small compost pile. But something was missing. I had grown up with chickens and ducks, and I loved them as a child, and with our second child on the way, I was yearning for that same experience for my children. The only problem, we lived in an HOA. If you don't know what an HOA is, it stands for Homeowners Association. It's basically you pay a fee to them monthly or yearly, and they tell you what you can and cannot do on your property. It's supposed to be there to help keep the property values high, but I think it's really just a scam, but that's just my opinion. Because we lived in an HOA, we couldn't have any animals that were considered livestock, which meant no chickens. We couldn't really afford to move, so we stuck it out for a few more years. It wasn't until Jesse was in Korea that I came across a house that I absolutely fell in love with. If you've been around this channel for a while, it's where my YouTube adventure started. It was a big old farmhouse with a wraparound porch. There was only one neighbor, and it had an entire acre. The best part? There were no HOAs. While Jesse was still in Korea, I made an offer on the house. It was accepted, and I moved myself and our two kids in. Thankfully, this home was only 5 minutes down the road, so it was a smooth transition. We were lucky enough to live in our little slice of heaven for a few years. Our dream of owning chickens quickly exploded. If you didn't know, chickens are a gateway animal. We soon had chickens, ducks, rabbits, and goats. We filled that one little acre with as much as we could. We had a giant garden, and we had even built a small greenhouse for year-round growing. I was content and never had any desire to move, but things were about to change. Being a military family, we were lucky that we were able to spend 19 years at Fort Bragg. Yes, there were deployments and hardship tours, but we never really had to leave Fort Bragg as a family. We had somehow avoided PCS orders to other stations. If you didn't know what PCS orders are, it's essentially when the Army or any other branch decide that you have spent enough time in one place and decide to move you somewhere else. Jesse had come down on orders 1 year before he was set to drop his retirement packet. And of course, it couldn't be an easy move to somewhere close. It was all the way on the other side of the country in Washington State. When I say I had zero desire to pack up and move across the country, I mean it. I was in denial for about 6 months. If there was a way to get out of these orders, I was going to find it. We even contemplated me staying in North Carolina with the kids and Jesse going for a year to Washington, but it was just too expensive and it wasn't feasible for our family. If you didn't know, Washington State is very expensive. Even as a senior enlisted soldier, housing prices were really expensive for us. We ended up moving to DuPont, Washington in a small 3-bedroom condo where we could see into our neighbor's living room and we could hear our upstairs neighbor flush his toilet. It was an adjustment to say the least. I just had to keep telling myself it was only for a year. I just had to get through 1 year. But while we were there, we took advantage of all the things to do. We hiked, we biked, we went crabbing, and just enjoyed the outdoors as much as we could. And then we just counted down and waited. We knew that Jesse was retiring, and we knew that we wanted land and somewhere we could have animals and homestead again. It was about 5 months before Jesse was set to retire that I started looking for our forever home. But because we had no real ties to anywhere, we had to narrow down our search. I had a color-coded map with specific requirements that we needed, and surprisingly, Arkansas fit all of our requirements. It was military-friendly, had a low standard of living, and it met a few other things on my checklist as well. After a few months of searching, we finally found the home that we're in now, and it's hard to believe we've already been here 2 years already. Just this time last year, we had nothing on our little homestead. No barn, no animals, not a tractor or a greenhouse. This year has been tough, but it's been a year of exponential growth for us. This year, we've been lucky enough to add 3 pigs, 20 chickens, 8 ducks, 3 cows, and 17 goats to our homestead. We built my dream office. We built a barn, and we're building my dream garden right now. Next year, we hope to build our dream home on the property. While 2021 has been a year of building and growth, I look forward to what 2022 has to come. We have cows due to calf. We expect at least 20 new baby goats to be born this spring, and I can't wait to be able to grow and provide more food from my land to my family and my neighbors. It's taken 20 years to get here, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.